Hi there, Phil Simborg for the USBGF with a typical blitzing situation. Blue started out with a split, probably a 5-2. Red rolled his double 5, blue came in, red doubled, blue took. There was some hitting and playing going on, and we get to this position. And it's not atypical, and you have a real problem here. You have a great roll, a 2-1. You can make the 5-point or you can hit, which is correct. Well, these kinds of positions are tough, and I was never sure for years, but about 3 years ago or so, Matt Cohn-Geyer and Perry Gartner and I got together and we decided we were going to write a book on backgammon, and we felt we could write a book that would update a lot of the old theories and improve on them, thanks mostly because we had a bot we could rely on much more than they had in the past. Not that we were any smarter than Roberti and McGrill and the great thinkers of this game, but we did have the benefit of a great bot, and with enough trial and error and study, we thought we could come up with some really great concepts. Well, we finished a chapter, the first chapter of our book on blitzing, and I think that's as far as we'll ever get, because Matt moved to Japan and then Las Vegas and got very busy doing other things and eating a lot of food now and having fun and playing tournaments. And Perry became president of the USBGF and puts in about 190 hours a week on that. I was doing some teaching at the time, and I had about 20 students, and I now have over 60 students, and I'm pretty much teaching 4 to 7 hours a day depending on the day. So we just abandoned the book, but what came out of it was a great approach to blitzing. And in positions like this, we came up with a basic rule of thumb that if you have one checker on the bar and one checker in, 3 points made in your board, there's a magic number of 10 in the zone. If you have 10 checkers in the zone, and by the zone we mean counting your checkers in this quadrant and your checkers in the outfield that are usable, that can really reach any of the open points that you need to be making. If you have 10 checkers in the zone, you probably have enough ammunition to go for the blitz. And it depends on some other factors, but generally speaking, 10 is the magic number, which tells us that it would be right to hit here. And of course, after you hit, the best one is to play 11 to 10 to get a direct 6 cover here. And that would be far better than making the 5-point. Let me show you the rollout. I have the rollout here with the answer, so you can see the actual numbers. And you can see that making the 5-point is way down here at a 6% error. All the top plays hit. Now, let's test the theory. Let's take a checker out of the zone. Now we only have 9 checkers in the zone, and it's going to be very right to make the 5-point. The odds of our being able to close the board and stop him from anchoring are very, very poor when you don't have that 10th checker in the zone in this situation. It also works if you remove this checker. And again, I won't hit the button, but it's a little closer now, but it's still better to make the 5-point than to hit. I gave this lecture at a major tournament not that long ago, and someone raised the point that doesn't it really matter about your opponent's board strength? If he has a much better board, wouldn't you be much more afraid to hit? And the answer is generally no. It doesn't seem to matter. Our rule of 10, and I'll show you a position where your opponent has a very strong board comparatively. And as you can see, it's still right to hit because of the rule of 10. Here, he's got 3 inner-board points, and by the way, it becomes even more right. Your game plan, even more than ever, you better hit him here, because if you just play quietly, and he anchors, you can be in a lot of trouble here. This is one thing that's happened with blitzing in recent years because of the bot. It used to be, and I was pretty much taught, that if you can blitz, go ahead and blitz, because you win lots of gammons if it goes well, and if it goes bad, well, then too bad. And as a result, we blitzed way too much, and we failed way too often. Our opponent made an anchor, and we'd find ourselves with the 1 and 2 points made, and he'd have our 4 or 5 point anchor, and he'd have a very strong game, and he would immediately be about a 45% or 40% win rate and holding the cube, which was very scary. So what we've learned is that you don't always just blindly blitz. You need to have the conditions that are right. We've also learned that if you start your blitz with the double 3 instead of the double 5, you should a lot more often you'll have a better option of playing a priming game rather than a hitting game, because after the double 5 you really should be thinking more about blitzing. After making your ace point, your odds of ever making a really good priming game go way down. But with a double 3, if that's the blitzing number you have a very good board that could go either way. So you should lean more strongly towards making points and letting him anchor on the 1 or the 2 point. And he is less likely to anchor on a higher point after a double 3 blitz. So I think this is very helpful. Knowing these rules of thumb when they work and when they're right, as they are in this case, will lead you to the right play much more quickly and take away a lot of the quandaries. I have some great rules of thumb for different kinds of positions, much that I've learned from other masters, and many brand new ones that I haven't seen in any book that I've learned from John O'Hagan and Stick and Perry and David Rockwell, my teaching partners at the Backgammon Learning Center, and others that I've learned by associating and listening and watching people like Mochi and a lot of the other people that are Mary Hickey has some very good concepts and ideas. There's some great teachers and great thinkers in the game right now that are doing a lot of work, and with the help of Extreme Gammon we have new information and we've developed some new rules of thumb. So I have some shortcuts for holding games and shortcuts for back games and shortcuts for prime versus prime games and blitzing games. Whatever the area of play, when you have a new rule of thumb that can work almost all the time, that's been proven to be right by the bot, it's really going to be a great reference and get you to the right play more often and keep you away from those blunders. So how can you have these shortcuts too? Study. Take lessons. And read. But mainly practice yourselves and develop your own rules of thumb by playing with Extreme Gammon, because you can pretty well count on Extreme Gammon being right. Don't trust 3-ply. You have to go at least to plus or plus plus to have a pretty strong confidence of the play. And of course, when it's really close, you have to take the time to do the rollouts. Hope this was helpful to you, give you some good insight on blitzing. By the way, this rule of 10 doesn't necessarily apply. If he has already 2 checkers on the bar, I might blitz with 8 or 9 depending on the options and depending on the roll. And of course, if his board gets too great, we might have to get into a different kind of a game. But I do want to stress also that you start out thinking about whether or not you should blitz at all, and whether or not hitting or blitzing is a form of a hitting game is your best game plan. It might be just racing, or it might be priming is a better game plan. So don't just assume you're blitzing just because you started out that way, and be flexible. Keep your options open if you can. Thanks for watching. Hope this helped you, and thanks for all the positive feedback. I'm giving these videos because a lot of people say they like them, and let us hear from you. And if there's something else that the USBGF can do to serve you, let us know. It's a fine organization with a lot of strong volunteers who are here to help you. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye.